So, with wars come propaganda, and propaganda usually fails instantly. And sometimes it fails so bad it makes the opposing side seem like badasses. What am I talking about? There's this post from the best broadcasting agency ever, BBC, saying Ukraine war, Russians reservists fight with shovels. UK defense mystery. So this article is claiming that the Russians don't have any guns, and the only thing they got is entrenchment tools, making the picture in my mind. It's digging time. If you don't know the news, Bakhmut is essentially fallen. So if this article is true, then the Ukes have lost a key strategic location to dudes with shovels. There's also another propaganda piece I kind of wanted to cover and talk about. It should be added post editing, but a photographer had seen a picture of Russian troops doing a parade for some World War II, the Great Patriotic War, like parade. And they said, oh, Russia's doing so bad, they're sending people out with guns that are over 100 years old. And see, people who say shit like this have never been around guns. You want to know how I know? This is the gun in question that they seen the troops with. It is a Mosin Nagant. Other gun people call it a trash rod, but to me, I've fired probably thousands of rounds through this thing. There's no other gun that I would put, like, if it came down to it, my life in the hands of. And not only that, yes, it's 100-year old technically piece of crap, but this is the round it fires. Okay, it's 7.62 by 50, 54, 50, 54R or 50, 51, 54. Other gunners, it's up here. I know it's 50 something. You guys can correct me in the comment, but yeah, it's 100 years old. But this chunk of metal is still traveling at thousands of feet per second. And yes, sure, it's a bolt action compared to the AR-15 or AK, but this rifle right here has probably killed more people than the AK has since its inception. Okay, this goes back to like imperialist Russia, and like before Russia was communist. And it goes like the Finns had variants of this that has probably killed more people than the AK ever has. In fact, Vasily Zaitsev has used a weapon like this, and I think he has hundreds of kills. Simo Heha has used a weapon like this, and he has 507 kills. So just because it's a 100-year-old piece of shit does not mean it's not lethal. Like same thing with a musket. Okay, yeah, sure, it may take 30 to 60 seconds to reload, but that's still like a .50 or .68 caliber musket ball traveling at 1,000 feet per second. And that or this comparative, even if you have body armor, and it does happen to stop this, which I doubt it, your inner organs are going to be reduced to jelly because the impact force hitting that steel plate or Kevlar, even if you somehow miraculously survive that, you're going to be in intensive care, if you're lucky at the minimum. But anyway, that was just another thing where they were saying, oh, it's a 100-year-old gun and no one should fear this. Like this thing was taking American casualties in Vietnam by snipers. Okay, so just because something is old, just because something is obsolete, does not mean it's not dangerous. In the correct hands, this thing right here can be a man-slaying, like, body-stacking machine. And that's how you know journalists and non-gun people wrote about that and covered that, because anyone, even gun people who are familiar with this rifle, this trash rod, this Mosin Nagant, cringe at the idea of one of these being fired remotely at them from any direction. This thing is accurate in the right hands up to 800 yards, but in their very real sense, it's probably 600 to 700 yards. I don't know what that is in imperial or foo French like metrics, but that's a good distance. And again, as someone who's ran literally thousands of rounds through this gun, just the idea of an unseen person popping shots off with this thing kind of makes me want to shit my pants. Yeah, the AK is uh, like can fire automatic burst or whatever variant, right? But that's only accurate up to 300, 400 yards maybe. But this thing, for a 100-year-old piece of shit, is still pretty scary. So, and it has been being used by Russian units with a scope on it. So, like, yeah, okay, it's considered obsolete by modern standards, but again, that does not make it any less deadlier of a firearm. And that's how I know no one who's ever touched a gun wrote that shit. But anyways, yeah, Mosin got the trash rod, and anyways, hopefully you learned something or found something interesting about this. But yeah, the propaganda on both sides, to be fair, here is pretty terrible. And before anyone says you're Putin, chill, Russia, you side with Russia, I don't really give a shit about either side because both sides is terrible. One side just wants to use our money, weapons, and manpower, blood and treasure, so they can keep up their corrupt government and corrupt pals and senators in other countries. I'll just say that. But yeah, I don't really have a dog in the fight. Good soldiers dying so that politicians can enrich themselves, regardless of which side, is pretty fucking bad and haram, in my opinion. But, anyways, see you next time.